He almost died. You almost killed him at school. You need to get educated, and here's what I've learned, and this is what you need to do.
What was the methodologies and how difficult it was for you to pass this bill after working 7 years? You were working on a national cause or international cause. Do you know what the hardest thing is? To see our loved ones suffering from diseases. And today's guest have seen her son suffering from food disease back in early 2000s. And after that, she became an advocate, national, international advocate against food allergy. And she has been raising her voice on every platform. So, how she got an idea of doing all these things? We will be going to discuss with Miss Laurel Francoeur. Thank you so much, Miss Laurel, for your precious time.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Laurel, you started your career as a lawyer and you were practicing in early 2000s, right? But you pivot your journey. So, what was the pivotal moment for you? Like now you are fighting against food allergy. You have been advocating this particular thing from last many years. So, what was the pivotal moment in your life?
I was a lawyer, and I became a lawyer in 1996, and I started doing just general practice, and I expected to just keep doing that type of law. In 2000, I had a son, and in 2001, he had a diagnosis of life-threatening food allergies. At that time, it was to peanuts, tree nuts, eggs, soy, sesame, and shellfish. And at that time, there were very few people who had food allergies. It wasn't the phenomenon that it is now. So I continued working. When he was in kindergarten, he had a reaction at school. They gave him something that had egg in it. And when I came to pick him up, he was in the corner of the school, covered in hives. So I had to give him an EpiPen and take him to the hospital. And that's when I realized that there was a lot of education needed around this subject, that the school didn't understand how to take care of him. So then I decided I couldn't work full time at that point. I had to take time off and just dedicate myself to learning as much as I possibly could about allergies and the law around them. And I continued doing volunteer work. I also recognized that in Massachusetts, students in schools weren't allowed to have their EpiPens in their classroom. And that was one of the things that affected my son, because his classroom was on one side of the building and the nurse's office was on the other side. So I decided that I was going to draft a bill to correct that. And so I did that. And then from then on, I just dedicated myself to learning as much as I can and helping people with food allergies.
I'm very curious to know some initial challenges because your son was suffering from this disease and he has recovered, right? He had recovered from this disease. But after that, you thought you will be going to be advocate this particular issue on national level. When you are trying to change something, you always face resistances, right? So what were some initial challenges of while doing this transition? Because there are a lot of people, lot of youngsters, because majority of our audience, they are youngsters. They can take motivation from you because you are working for noble cause from last over 3 decades, right?
It was hard because there weren't many resources back in 2000s and the early 2000s. The internet had just sort of come to being, so there were very few. You couldn't just Google. I don't even think Google existed back then. You couldn't just Google the topic and find out what you needed to find out. So I just did as much research as I possibly could. I started going to local meetings, buying as many books as I could, trying to talk to people who knew about food allergies and just gather as much information as I possibly could. And then I realized I could use that to help advocate for my son. And then that turned into advocating for other people as well.
But before educating people to others about this food allergy, you need to educate yourself because you don't have, in the past, you were not a medical student, you don't have any history relevant to medical, right? So, like, how you educate yourself? Because at that period of time, the facilities of internet were limited. So, how you researched, like, you were taking some classes, you were like you done any degree on this particular thing, like how you educated yourself?
So I researched the law and found out that food allergies can be considered a disability. So once I found that out, I started researching about how people with disabilities are entitled to accommodations. So at school and other places. So I just read as many laws as I could and case law about accommodations and how the process worked. And then I started again educating. I sat down with the people at the school and I told them my story and I explained why this is important. Because I think a big part of advocacy is telling a personal story. So if you just say in general, people with food allergies need to be protected, it may not get heard. But I tried to say, look, this is what happened to my son. He almost died. You almost killed him at school. You need to get educated, and here's what I've learned, and this is what you need to do. So that kind of started the whole thing. But it was challenging. There were very few people to turn to. I actually started a play group for people with food allergies because there were so few of us at the time. So we were meeting at the local Boys and Girls Club, and so we were taking our kids and saying we'd have a food-free play group. And so that just, again, it was just sort of getting as many resources as I could and reaching out to as many people as I could was really what got me through it.
And after that, you championed a legislation after 7 years. So, what was the motivation behind it, and what kept you going on this? Because after educating your own self, it was very important to raise awareness, and you chosen this path. So, what was the main reason behind it for passing this bill?
It was challenging because you had to be patient. So what I did is I looked at the Massachusetts laws and realized that students had the right to keep asthma medication in the classroom. So I said, well, why can't this be the same for food allergy medication? So I drafted a couple sentences, a paragraph that I thought was important. And my local state representative had office hours. And he was advertising in the paper, come meet me at this coffee shop if you have any concerns or things you want to address. So I met with him at the coffee shop and I gave him what I had drafted and explained to him what happened to my son and why this needed to be done. And luckily he agreed with me. And so he introduced the bill and we had some pushback. We had the Nurses Association concerned that maybe we were taking away some of their power. But I explained to them, no, this is actually going to help you because you're going to have epinephrine in more places. So it's not taking away any of your power. So once they understood that, they got on board. And then it just kept, every time it got passed by in the legislature, I would call him and say, make sure we reintroduce the bill. And he reintroduced it and kept doing it until finally they decided to vote on it and became a bill, a law.
But Laurel, I want you to tell in depth, like what was the methodologies and how difficult it was for you to pass this bill after working 7 years, because it's not easy, because you are all doing all these things without any cost. You were working on a national cause or international cause. You were working for other mothers so that any other children will not suffer from this food allergy. So I want you to explain a little bit in detail so that the youngsters, they can take notes. They can take, like, anything cannot come overnight. You need to work hard and consistently.
After passing it became education. So I needed people to know about the bill. So just passing it wasn't enough. So I started, first I started doing, so there was a local nonprofit that allowed people to come and speak. So I came and spoke and gave a talk about why it's important. And then somehow somebody else heard about my talk, and then somebody else heard about it. So I spent the first several years on my own dime, so not getting paid, going across the country to speak. So I went to a conference in Las Vegas, was the first one that I did. a school in New Jersey invited me to come down and talk to them. So it was a lot of getting on the road, not getting paid, paying out of my own pocket, but I thought it was important enough that people needed to be educated about this topic and also educated about what their rights are. So if they were at school and they were having problems, they would know what to do. And then it just kind of blossomed, but it was a lot of days on the road away from my family, paying out of my own pocket to do it. But then after a while, I became known as sort of one of the go-to people on this topic. And then it's just spiraled from that.
So do let me know, like, how is your current lifestyle? How you are managing all these things? You are a lawyer, you are a speaker, you are a mother as well. You have children to take care, to look after your house as well. So, like, how is your balance? How you are balancing your life right now?
Luckily, my son is now 25, so he's pretty much on his own, so I don't have to worry about him. So that's freed up a lot of my time. But I've just, over the years, I've written books. I just try to keep my hand in as much as possible and get myself out there and do as much as I possibly can. So I also, because I'm one of the national experts on this topic, I was invited to the National Academy of Sciences to give a talk to them for a research project that they were doing. I have joined an organization called the Conference for Food Protection, where we write policy for food allergy for restaurants and so forth. So it's just sort of getting in as many places as you can and trying to be as helpful as you can. And it's a lot of work. So I also have my own business, my practice, and I now have pretty much a national practice. So I don't have people just in my state calling me. I have people from all over the country calling me. And so I had to figure out a way to work with other people in other states because I'm not licensed everywhere. So to work with other people and say, hey, can you join me? Can you help me get admitted to this bar so that I can help somebody here? So right now I have cases in Colorado and California and Florida, New York, New Mexico, North Carolina, just all over the country. And it's just sort of like it just grows. So I think if you do the initial legwork and put in all of that, it pays off. But you have to be willing to put the initial legwork in and willing to sacrifice. So for the longest time, I went without a salary. And luckily, my husband has a good job, and so we were able to live on his salary. But, it definitely was sacrifice. This first several years when you're in business, you're not profitable. It takes a while. So again, it's just being willing to sacrifice and to understand and put the time in and realize that, like you said, you're not going to become overnight. Nobody starts at the top. You start at the bottom and you work your way up. And that's what I've done. And I think it's worked well.
There are some little things that we cherish. So I want you to tell for the motivation for the audience, like on which achievements you are proud of your own self.
Probably the legislation, because that's impacting all students in Massachusetts. But what I'm also proud of is when I go places and people come up to me and they say, I read your book or I heard you speak and it caused me to advocate for my child. And people will come up and say, I got things at school that I didn't know I could because I heard you talk or I listened to one of your webinars. And for me, that's the proudest achievement, is that I'm actually making a difference in people's lives, and that they come up and tell me and say, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have done this. And that really touches me, and it makes it all worthwhile that I'm helping other people to advocate for their kids and hopefully make the world a better place just in my own little corner.
So what is your future plans? On which particular things you will going to fight battle, because you are a national advocate after food allergy? Which crisis you think you will be going to working on?
So my next battle, I think, is going to be getting EpiPen training for nurses. So for instance, in Massachusetts, the law says a nurse may train staff about EpiPen, but it doesn't say they must. So that's something that's always bothered me. I think that people at schools should be educated about epinephrine. So my next battle, if I have the time, is to try to get that law changed so that it becomes mandatory. EpiPen training becomes mandatory at schools rather than just something that's optional. So that's kind of my next thing. I'm also still working with the Conference for Food Protection, and we're working on advisories to the FDA. One of the things we're looking at is precautionary labels. So for food allergies, if you look at packages, it says may contain or made in a facility that contains nuts. There's no regulation of those statements. So that's one of the issues I'm trying to work on, is get regulation around those. And we just, unfortunately, I don't know if you saw a student from University of Rhode Island just graduated, and he just passed away. He ate a candy that said may contain nuts, and it turned out it actually did contain nuts. And he had just graduated like a few days before and passed away. So there needs to be clarity about what that means so that people aren't taking a gamble when they see, may contain, does it really contain it or doesn't it? So that's another thing that I've been working on the side.
So this is a time of a rapid fire round, and now I will going to ask you some rapid fire questions, and you have to answer them very quickly. Calls or text?
Text.
Any application which is improving your productivity as an entrepreneur?
In terms of like computer applications, my case, it's a legal software program that you can put all your information in one place.
Any secret talent that nobody knows about yourself?
I play the organ. I used to play the organ in church. So yeah, that's something that people don't know, that I'm an organist.
Any superpower you wish you had?
Power to read minds so that I could understand what people are thinking and know how to counter it.
Laurel, we need to discuss more things, but we have a time limit. But before leaving, anything you want to tell to aspiring entrepreneurs, those people who are juggling around and fighting their own battle, but they are not getting results? So what is one message that you want to give from the depth of your heart?
Educate yourself. Learn as much as you can about the topic. If it's something that you're really passionate about, educate yourself, because that's what stems from everything else. Once you understand the topic, then you know what you need to do and can do what you need to do. So my advice is educate yourself.
So that's all from today's podcast. And I think sometimes you have to fight battle against noble causes as well. And those noble causes can give you overnight success. It can happen. But if you're not getting success, if you're working for these noble causes, then my friend, you will going to get success one day. So I hope you will going to like the podcast. If you like the podcast, do subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon so that you will be getting notification of each and every podcast. We will be going to meet you in the next podcast. Till then, keep daring, keep achieving, and keep working and keep helping for others.